Hi, Tiny. Thank you for coming in today. My name's Emma. The paperwork that I've given you is for confidentiality reasons. Basically, it just means whatever we talk about is between you and I, and the information it can't be passed on without your knowledge of it. The other piece of paper that I've given you to sign is a release of client information. So basically that is if I feel like you are a danger to yourself or a child or somebody around you, and I feel like that information needs to be passed on to the relevant people that I think it needs to be passed on to, that just says that you give permission for me to do that.
Okay.
Yep. So just have a read through of those and sign them when you're ready.
Okay, no problem. Right, okay.
Okay, so what's brought you in today?
So what has brought me in today is I'm not feeling 100% with where I am with my anger. I went through a pretty traumatic breakup with my ex-boyfriend. A lot of domestic violence involved. I share a 16-month-old child with him. Our breakup was quite explosive, and an incident happened where he resulted in being locked up, and now he is in jail.
Okay.
It took me a very, very long time to kind of get over that. But now that I have a new partner, when we have arguments, I'm kind of going from being completely calm to explosive within seconds, because I'm just so fearful that, you know, how the relationship that I had with my ex is going to be the same as with my new partner, even though I know that it's not. I'm just so used to having to fight.
Yeah, you're reacting instinctively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I kind of just wanted to talk to you about how to keep my anger at bay a little bit, or see if there's steps that I can take to stop myself going from 0 to flying off the handle like 4 minutes, because I also don't want my daughter to grow up in a household where everything is just blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
I want to just have a happy and healthy relationship and see, you know, that's how adults and parents act, not.
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern.
Okay. Where, just if you can give me a history of what happened between you and your ex, just so I can get a better idea of when it started, what trigger points might have happened that are affecting the relationship that you have now.
Yeah. So I met my ex when we were still in high school. We went to the same school and we dated from, I think, probably like 16 to 17 up until we were 25, I think.
Okay.
Our relationship was pretty good. Then when we got pregnant, he kind of was a little bit like absent in the beginning.
Okay.
Like, and we spoke about having a baby for at least a good 6 months before we actually did, and then when it actually happened, I think that kind of changed his mind a little bit. So then he was kind of resentful for a little bit, and then just all of a sudden he started hanging out with a new group of friends. I would like to say that's probably when he started using drugs, but I'm not 100% sure if that was when it happened. But by the time I was 20 weeks, he would just come home in all sorts of rages and
just flying off the handle.
Yeah. It was mostly verbal to begin with, and then he kind of stopped me from having access to our joint bank account. We owned a home at that stage, so we had a big joint account where all our bills were paid. Then all of a sudden, just money kept just going missing, and then whenever I questioned him about it, he would just dismiss it or tell me that was not what my thing was, because he was earning more money than I was, so he spent more money than I was, but like our mortgage was a little bit late, and the bank were calling me because he wasn't answering, and then that's when I kind of found out that there was a huge chunk of money missing because he did changed the password on our joint bank account, so I couldn't go in and check.
Okay.
When I confronted him about that, that's when pretty much the physical started happening. It started off with just like pushing and shoving and stuff, and then it was punching me and punching walls, and then when I got to about I think it was at 36 or 37 weeks pregnant, that was when our big explosive fight happened. I told him that if he was not going to be clean, then I needed some time away from him. I wanted to, spend the last couple of weeks of my pregnancy feeling safe, because I knew that my child could come into this world at any minute, and I didn't want to be in the middle of a huge fight with him and my waters break and him not being able to let me leave. So when I was packing my bags to go, he tried to stop me. So he got in the car, so I got out of the car, and I went to go back inside to lock the door. But when I went to go inside, he reversed back out and drove straight into me, which pinned me against the wall. I had quite a lot of damage to my hips. I had a small fracture. Luckily, my baby was okay. They didn't induce me or anything because they wanted to make sure that I wasn't internally bleeding before they did, because I had to have a C-section because she was breech. And at the time that my hips were broken, they didn't want to put any extra pressure on me at that moment, but then I did go on to have her 2 weeks later.
Right, okay. Okay, so it started off, you started with quite a traumatic few years for you. So let's just recap. So started off as very little things.
Yeah.
People in toxic relationships and in possessive relationships, they try to get that control. They start over little things, testing the waters to see how far they can go. So then it got out of hand. He was very possessive, and then it turned to violence.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so after you had your baby, did you go to the police? What happened after that?
So when the incident happened, it actually was recorded on across from my house neighbour's ring camera, or surveillance called. So it was actually little lady. She had her house broken into two days beforehand, so she was very aware of what was going on. So she actually heard what happened, and she called the police straight away.
Okay, that's good.
Luckily, my little sister was actually staying with me at that time, and she heard the end part of it. She heard me scream after he hit me because she was in the shower. So she called an ambulance for me. So that was documented. And then once I got to the hospital, I told them that this was basically my last straw, and that I wanted to contact the police because I wanted a domestic violence order. I did attend at least 2 or 3 times with like little minor injuries. Like I think I had a few broken ribs. I had to get 7 stitches in my face at one point. So I think that they knew that something was going on.
Yeah, I mean those injuries are not minor.
Yeah. Well, it was minor compared to the big one, but yeah.
Right. Okay.
Now that they weren't, it wasn't.
Yes. Okay. So I think that it's so great that you've decided to come in, and that you've had the courage to be able to come in and openly talk about what's happened to you, and be willing to work on the things that you want to work on. So I think it's really important that we in a moment we'll talk about your current relationship and how what you've gone through in the past is affecting the relationship that you have now.
Yeah.
And then after that, we'll go on to talk about what we're going to do next, what your short-term and long-term goals are. And then we'll start talking about some ways that we can come up with a plan to get you feeling a bit better about things and being able to handle things a bit better.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay. Okay.